Alright, it's Friday, July 19th, and we're just going to do a little flight here with our Blade 180. Actually, Fusion, not CFX. I haven't seen them do a new box yet. Hopefully that'll maybe come out soon. We're going to actually do a bunch of flying here. I got the 360 in there, and then of course we got the 500 up there. Now, if you're going to do a bunch of flying, I recommend that you put together a case like this. Probably one of the reasons I really like the 180 is its packability and travel ability. I throw it in this little aluminum case here. I've got these batteries. It's got a little compartment in there for 8 batteries. I've got 5 of them right now. The one it went in the river with, I'm not flying. There's a little condensation in there. I just figured, you know, for what it costs, I'm just not going to fly that battery. So I got these little caps here. I mean, you don't really need these, but these are kind of nice to have, just in keeping track if you're flying multiple helicopters and you're flying multiple batteries, especially if the kids are there or there's other stuff going on. It's easier to keep track of which batteries you've used and haven't used just by getting these little caps here. These are nice to have. So here's my 180. I believe it's got about 50 flights now. I think it's at 49 or 50 flights. Super happy with this little helicopter. The flight quality, the controllability, for its size, I'm just truly, like, it just does not fly like a small helicopter. I like to use exponential. So I got about 40% exponential on the aileron and the elevator channels, and it just flies great. It's a small helicopter. The blades are plastic. At first I kind of figured I would upgrade it relatively quickly to carbon fiber blades, but it's actually the plastic blades. I mean, you're out flying and some people come along, or you know, the plastic blades are definitely safer, and that's what's great about this little helicopter. It's light, it's got plastic blades, it doesn't weigh a lot, the batteries are relatively inexpensive. Like I said, it packs up in this aluminum case. I've thrown it in a backpack in the case. I've taken it out on the boat, I've flown it out there. Unfortunately, I made a little timer mistake. And this little helicopter right here has actually been at the bottom of the Hudson River. So it came out and it dried out really good. I don't even see any condensation at all left in the tail motor. If you watch my other video, there's a bunch of condensation built up on that tail motor, where a couple hours after it had come out of the river. Now, when I went home, I took that tail motor apart. I greased up all the components on the head with oil. I hit the gears with grease, a little white silicone, and cleaned everything up. So this helicopter, it just seems like continues to impress me all the time. Probably definitely my most frequently flown. So Blade Fusion 180, flying it with a DX9. I went with the DX9 because it's got the dual diversity antenna. So it's got the antenna here and the antenna in here. So I figured, you know, why not hedge your bets if it's got a little bit better of an antenna system. The other thing is that the speaker system on the DX9 is a different speaker. It's supposed to be a little bit louder and a little bit better, and I absolutely love the audible information. You know, I've got the timer set up with a 1-minute warning.
Normal mode, hold mode.
I don't have any issue hearing it flying outside in the wind.
Normal mode, hold mode, normal mode.
So I like having the different. These switches are not 2-way; they're 3-way. Like on the old DX6, they're 2-way. I'm not sure about the new one. You've got this switch here you can push so that you can bind this to another remote. I've bound it to my DX6 when flying my Timber, and my son, who's 12 years old, will have my DX6. he can taxi out and take off, but he's not too good with the landing. So I'll just let off the trainer button, take control back to this remote. So the other thing I like about this remote is it's got these circular roller switches on the back. There's 2 of them. So when I raise the throttle, the timer will automatically start to run. And then when I lower it, it will stop. And then when I roll those rocker switches in the back, it will reset the timer, so I don't have to turn the remote off and back on. Now, it did have a setting before where you turn it off and back on, and it would alert you that it was in hold mode. I don't really need to be alerted that it was in hold mode. It was redundant every time you switch helicopters or every time you turn it off and back on. That alert would come on. So I went in and I turned that alert off because I don't really need to know that I'm in hold mode.
Hold mode.
And I use hold mode a lot. I mean, pretty much the only time I have hold mode off is when I'm flying. So with these little helicopter, you know, probably not so much of a big deal. But when you get into, you know, like the 500, you know, that hold mode I really find is something that you really is a great tool, and I would encourage anybody to use it. So DX9 Fusion 180, and I'm gonna quit talking here and set this thing up, and we're gonna do a little flying. Here. So blade grip, blade holder, I would recommend that you use the blade holder on most helicopters almost all the time. Down to the 180 size, you know, I mean, these blades are small enough and light enough where once I take this thing off, I'll pretty much leave it off for as long as I'm using it, flying it for the day. My Blade 500, on the other hand, when I take that blade grip off, I only take that blade grip off right before I put the blades out to fly it, and I immediately put that blade grip back on. I'm actually going to plug this in because there's a little bit of an angle here, and I don't know if this thing is really gonna bind up. And there we go. So we got hold mode on, Fusion 180 selected. Put our canopy on here. So it's about 77 degrees this morning, which is nice. It's not too hot, not too cold. A little cloudy, which is all right. Like the Fusion 180 colors, I'd like to see a little more red in there. Red seems to be like a good color you can see when it's flying. But they've got the yellow and the white on the tail. Oh, just broke my watch. So here we go.
Normal mode.
Whew, I'm a little rusty this morning. Of course, the 180's got the 3-axis stabilization, the flybarless system. I'm super impressed by it. Again, very small little helicopter. Look how stable it is. And I'm not even really trying here to nail it in one spot. I'm just really casually flying this thing. And there's a wind out here and it still holds pretty good in one spot. Considering its size, I feel like I can't say enough about this little helicopter. Battery feels almost like it's a little weak. I've been charging the batteries on a speed charger, which I know is not the best thing to do, opposed to a peak detecting charger. And I know there's a bunch of guys out there that just fly amazing, and they post these videos doing all kinds of 3D, and that's awesome. I certainly think it's neat. I personally don't like to constantly be breaking these things and constantly fixing them. So my flying style is, you know, a little more conservative, not quite as exciting. I almost feel like I wanted to post some videos of just doing some circuit flying or some simple 360s. I find it's challenging enough to fly the helicopter this way, and my goal is to get through 5 or 6 or 7 batteries without crashing the thing. Now I've got, like I said, I believe almost 50 flights on this little helicopter, and the only crash I've ever had was the second flight. I don't think I set up the pitch curve right on the blades, and it was flying back at me, and I pulled the throttle down a little too quick. Touchdown on the ground, and it broke the landing skid mount. So the construction of these Fusions is kind of so that there's a handful of parts that are kind of like designed to break. And sure enough, that landing skid mount broke. Landing skid mount broke, but the landing skid did not. And then, of course, right around flight number 25 or 30, I dipped it in the river on accident by overflying the battery. So I really feel like both of those things were pretty much totally my fault. And I don't really feel like there's not anything to do with the helicopter. So there she is. Again, we have quite a wind out here. We got the Hudson River in the background. And of course, there's the Capitol. It's Corning Towers, the tall building in the background. You got the egg back there. You can kind of see the library. We are overlooking the Port of Albany here. Another thing that I'm kind of trying to learn right now is how to fly better with the helicopter pointed at me. I've been kind of keeping the nose away and the tail back towards me. So,
Time remaining 1 minute.
all right, so we just got the 1 minute warning there. Obviously, no problem hearing that. This battery, I feel like, is not like a strong battery too, so I'm not really gonna push it. So again, it's July 19th, flying the Fusion 180 with the DX9. Oh, there's a Monterey boat going by in the background. Nice, new series. So I'm gonna try to get off this wall. Oh, there we go. And we're gonna set it down. So there's the 30-second beep. So in a second, we're gonna get the 10-second countdown.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
So we set it down.
Hold mode.
So pop it into hold mode. Unclip this. So there it is, Fusion 180, flying it on the DX9. Great little helicopter, highly recommend it. Whether you're new to this, or I would say even if you're probably a seasoned person, I think you'll be really impressed with how well this little helicopter really performs. And you can certainly build a nice little kit with the aluminum